more scattered showers and thunderstorms. 85. The heat and humidity will return for the weekend. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Currently, it's 89.
And it is Wednesday. It's the noon hour. That means it is time for Senior Talk, which is brought to you by Senior Benefits and the Solon American Legion. Here's your host, Rex Brandstatter.
Thank you, Tommy. Well, a hot good afternoon to everyone listening to Senior Talk today. I mean hot. This the way I like it. I didn't say I liked it humid or the dew point high. I just said I like it hot. Well, we're getting everything all at once here, so we're going to have to deal with it. Well, away we go. What a great day. Welcome to Senior Talk. What a great day it is here in the middle of July in Iowa. Flyover country. The cornfields are absolutely booming. They look great. The bean fields are coming on strong. It's a perfect day to be an Iowan. Don't we all know it, and don't we all love it? Well, you know, it's a great day for me to be here with you, and I hope you're having a good day too. So guess what? Thanks to all of you for listening and taking time out of your busy day. And to those listening who are seniors and those who are senior gonna-bees, we'll say someday. Everything goes right with your life, and the good Lord doesn't intercede, why, you're going to be a senior someday. And guess what? Right here on Senior Talk, I do my very best to bring a lot of ideas every week that might cover important aspects that pertain to certain parts of your life, your lifestyle, or becoming a senior or being a senior. And we'll have a little time, of course, for some history as well. I've got a good one. I'm going to solve a long, long mystery that I've had amongst myself. Maybe you all knew it. I may be the only guy in Johnson County that didn't know the answer to this, but I'm going to let it all out as you would expect right here in Senior Talk. We'll have a little time for some other things. So at this point, once you grab a chair and grab a sandwich and a nice cold root beer. You need a nice cold root beer today, and let's see what we can cook up. My name is Rex Brandstatter. I'm a 76-year-old real estate broker. I like to work and talk and meet with seniors, and I work and talk and meet with a lot of seniors. And I work with executors and administrators of estates all the time. Attorneys call me. Bank trust departments call me. That's who I deal with a lot. And I work with the families of seniors who will say, can we come and talk to you before we have you talk to mom? Or can I bring dad in, just the three of us, blah, blah, blah. That's what it is, because it doesn't have to be an immediate type of thing. But maybe the family is planning on maybe having dad move to a different location, or mom and dad move to a smaller unit, or selling the house type of thing. That's what I deal with, and I'd like to deal with seniors, and I know the need. I'm 76, so I'm right there, I guess, and I do my very best to help each and every one of you. So there's no immediacy, but then again, there might be something you should know about you selling your property or becoming wanting to buy one. We can iron that all out now. When you get ready to go, you're all set to go. Well, I offer to you a senior line, and all you have to do is give me a call. I'm at 319-330-5534. Easy to remember, 330-5534, and we'll see what we can cook up and see if we can help it. Lots of folks, lots of people call me, and I've been very busy. I've been a real estate agent for a long time, since 1974, so I don't know why I'm still doing it, but I am, and I'm still going, and I work with a lot of people, so please give me a call. I hope I can help you. Well, summer is in full gear, and the big reports we just had here, the people down at the fair. I was down at the fair last Saturday. I was MC for the Bill Riley Talent Show, and it was inside the building that was supposedly was air conditioned. It wasn't this hot, but with all the people in it, it got a little warm. But boy, did they have a good turnout. And the Bill Riley Talent Show was full of kids doing lots and lots of real neat programs. I had a good time. So, you know, every once in a while I'd ask my dad. Now, he was born in 1919, so he was a kid in the 1920s and graduated from high school in 1936 at U High. So between 1920, we'll say, maybe he's cognizant about 1954 when he's 5 or 6 up to then. They lived in Corville in a big two-story house, which is still there. And I said, well, what did you do back then on weather like this? I would have asked him if he were here today, but I did when he was here, of course. I said, what did you do in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s before air conditioning? And I said, your bedroom and Grandma and Grandpa's was upstairs in that two-story house. He said, well, he says, it was just as hot back then. He says, we slept in the yard a lot. And he said, a lot of people slept in the basement and on the porches, and a lot of people slept in the yard. And he said, the only trouble sleeping in the yard is the dew and things like that. So we slept under the trees and maybe under a table or he and his buddies would sleep under a dining fly, put together some kind of thing like that. He said it didn't erase the mugginess or the clamminess, you feel if you're a camper, you feel in the morning sometime. But he said everybody just slept outside because inside, he said, it was too hot. And they didn't even know the term air conditioning back then, but they had not invented, Mr. Carrier had not invented air conditioning yet. So let's thank Mr. Carrier as we sleep here today. So I always wanted the answer to that, and I got it. It was just as hot back then. They just slept, made other accommodations. So we slept in the basement quite a bit, and I was in that basement, and I guess, I don't know where they slept, but go down in a two-story basement, it's more of a cellar. I guess they slept on the floor. I don't know. I don't get it. Wherever they could to stay comfortable. Well, I got thinking about that at my talk with my dad then. Our first air conditioning when I was a kid was a kind of a floor fan. It was a circulating fan, oscillating fan. It wasn't oscillating, didn't go back and forth. A circular fan, we'll call it. And it had a metal frame around it. We stuck pencils in there as kids, and popsicle sticks, anything you could screw around and get hurt. Try not to get hurt, but screw around with it. And so it was a cage fan. I always called it a cage fan. It was wide open. It just had a big wire, so you could not put your finger through it at any point. Very big. And they bought it at the Gamble store in Iowa City. I remember I was there. And the Gamble store in Iowa City was on the northwest corner, across the street from Pearson's, right across the street from Pearson's Drug. Immediately east, across from the printing company. It used to be the printing company. I can't remember the name right now for sure. The calendar factory and the printing company and stuff like that. That's where it was. And so they bought the fan, and when they got it home, I couldn't understand how this was going to work. Well, what they did was they took a double-hung window. You just unlock it and raise it up, a window then, and that exposed the screen. We had screens on the house. You had to put on every spring. And then with that fan came like when you raise the window up, it created a void, a square, and you hung this frame thing from the fan that came with it. Put that in there, and then you lowered the frame back down, the window back down on it. And on the fan, it had a hook on top and a hook for the legs had kind of two hooks on it. So you hung the fan there, and you pointed it outside. I said, well, wouldn't you want to point it inside, Dad? I remember saying that. No, that's not how that works. So then they closed all the windows in the house, and they went around to my bedroom. My brother and I shared a bedroom, and my mom and dad had a bedroom, their own, little two-story house, post-World War II house that they built. And so they would turn the fan on high, and what they would do, as it cooled down in the summer like tonight, that fan sucked, you pointed it out, it withdrew, made a negative pressure and withdrew the hot air in the house, and it blew around the side of the house. It created and it sucked air in through the two open windows. And I'll tell you something, by the middle of the night, you had to grab a sheet because it was going. It was really making it go. So that was air conditioning for many years. And it was nice, little easy to run, stuff like that. It wasn't the real answer during the day. It was hotter than crap, I suppose, in the house. A kid, you don't remember that, but at night that was the answer, and it worked very, very well until we bought a different house in Corville, and we got central air. Wow, that's the deal. Well, the Gamble store later became Sutton Radio and TV, if you want to know right where it was. All right. So that's how it worked for me, and it worked for our family, and it did too. So I hope if you don't get a good night's sleep, if your air conditioning goes out, do your best, and that would help you if you would have had it tuned up last spring, wouldn't it? Had you had the foresight and the knowledge, you had the knowledge that you might need a checkup. So if you don't have air conditioning and you knew about it, why, shame on you. So take care of yourself. Now, furnace season, you don't worry about that today, but, in September you ought to have a furnace guy come out and take a look at it. Well, I was not very good at math in grade school, high school, college, junior college, and whenever where I was, I had not the whiz of math. Add, subtract, multiply, and divide. That was good enough for me. Well, I did a little subtraction over last night. Matter of fact, I was watching the news, and I had my phone, so I knew that City High baseball team had won the first round game. They beat Waukee up in Sioux City. They're playing the Iowa State baseball tournament in Sioux City. For God's sakes, well, it's a nice town, and they deserve a little attention from the Iowa High School Athletic Association, I'm sure. So City High traveled up there, and they won the first game. So they're going to get to round 2, and if they win that, I think then they go to the championship, which the championship would be carried right here on KCJJ. So I got thinking about that, and I did a little. I played 3 years of baseball at City High, and my last year, and I did some subtraction. I played in the state tournament. We got beat first round down at Muscatine by Davenport Assumption, I think. I was on the City High baseball team 58 years ago. And so I did that, and I said, no, for God's sakes, no. 58 years ago. Well, how about you? You play, men or women, do you play sports in high school? How long has it been since you played sports? You're a senior, we'll say. How long ago has it been? Can you really believe that? Can you really believe that? So that means I'm going to pick something out here and see what you think. I played first base for 3 years. So that means that since I played there at my position, we'll just say a new guy every year, 57 other guys have had that job around town. 57 other guys have played that position. Wow, that is just mind-boggling to me. It just seems like, well, it doesn't seem like 10 years ago. I don't mean that, but it's just 58 years ago. Well, wow. Congratulations to the Little Hawks, and I hope they keep going. And wow, wouldn't that be fun to bring back the state baseball tournament? And the only thing I can think of, I think they won it maybe in 1946 or 48 or long, and then maybe 1960 they had some good teams. I don't know the answer to that. So we'll see. Good luck to them. So. Well, it's been kind of an interesting week. I'll give you a little heads up here, a little bulletin here. Last night at the Corvallis City Council meeting, they passed a rezoning and a preliminary plan for the old McGrath Auto Store on the Corvallis Strip, which was earlier Hawkeye Chrysler Plymouth, and then it was McGurk Myers Motors on the Strip, and then recently it was purchased by Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A couldn't get their plan to work on that site, so Chick-fil-A turned around, Chick-fil-A Corp, I don't know who they actually sold it to, but that was going to be the site of a Chick-fil-A and maybe another building. Well, last night, so they turned around and sold it, couldn't do it, so they sold it, and the City Corp approved another business coming right there, coming soon, exciting, a bank. Well, there you go. We went from having a Chick-fil-A, something we maybe could get excited about, to a bank. So if it's your bank, that's where you're going to be. If it's not your bank, you won't have to. You might want to be a customer, but that's where it's going to be. So we'll see what happens. And they might use the whole lot. They might sell off part of it and have another business. So that's a bulletin right from City Hall. There you go. What do you think of that? All right. Well, a nice senior lady advises this. She was informed that she is inheriting a house here in Johnson County. Going to inherit a house. Cool. It belonged to my old aunt, she said, and she left it to me. She says, it's not a bad house. I really don't want it, but I assume I can rent it or sell it. I said, yes, you could do either if you inherit it. It's going to be in your name. It's your home. If you want to rent it, you'd have to check with the zoning to get the rental rules. You might have to put in different things, to get a rental permit. I don't know where it is in Johnson County. She just said in Johnson County. But you might have to put different things in there. You might have to put a fire escape, depending on the things. You might have to put in handrails. You might have to put in fire extinguisher. You might have to put in GFCI electrical outlets, all kinds of safety things like that. So if you want to rent it, at least you have to play by those rules. Can I sell it? I said, well, yes, you could sell it. She said, I really don't want it. I said, is there a mortgage? And she said, what? I said, you're inheriting the house. Are there liens on it? Like what? Like what would it be? I said, do you think she owes money to the bank? I don't think so, but I don't know. I said, was she ever in trouble? Anybody file a lien against her for she didn't pay somebody for buying a whole bunch of furniture and then she didn't pay the bill and they put a lien on the house? I don't know. Okay, you need to find that out. She's just basically handing you a house. Like, what could go wrong? Well, I'm trying to tell you some things that could go wrong. I hope nothing is wrong, but this is what, just because somebody hears the house, a free house, you'd almost say, what's the catch? What's the problem here? What comes next? Grenade? What's next here? I say, when you inherit it now, it's free house, but you're going to need insurance on the house. You're going to want to change the locks. You don't know who your aunt gave access to the house. You're going to have to mow the grass and clean it up and secure it. and then figure out what you can do. And you probably should do those things first. Once you inherit it, you should have insurance on it in case it burns down or somebody gets hurt on there. And even though it's your house, they might be trespassing and get hurt. They're going to sue you anyhow. So clean it up and secure it. Then figure out what you can do with it. Don't worry about renting it. Don't worry about selling it. Do all these things that I'm talking about. And she said, well, will there be taxes, inheritance taxes? I said, well, I'm going to refer you to your attorney. I said, I can tell you some answers to that, but I'm going to refer you to an accountant and your attorney, and you can figure that all out because it depends on a lot of things, whether or not there are taxes, but it will be a gift to you, and there are gift tax laws by the feds and the state of Iowa, but go for it. If you could inherit a house and pick a number out for $10,000, why wouldn't you do it? You know, that type of thing. So that's the story. So she's all excited, and I didn't try to throw cold water on it. I just had to just take a step back and say, you're going to get it'd be like inheriting a car or a boat. You got to go buy a license on it and make sure that they're up to date on the licenses and things like that. So it could all work out to be good. You can't go wrong, really, unless there are all kinds of liens on it, blah, blah, blah. And just be careful how you take title. You might want to talk to an attorney. It says if there are other issues, you might want to take title instead of as a Jane W. Smith. You might want to take title as a Jane W. Smith LLC, which is a limited liability corporation. You might want to sit down with an attorney and say, I'm going to inherit this house. I don't know if I want it in my name, if it's got some issues with it. He or she, attorney, can commence to have a, what can I say, Hawkeye title, or someone here in town, look up and do a background check on the validity of any liens to it. There are a lot of things you can do even before it comes your way. So if you want to talk about that, give me a call. I'll be happy to help you steer you in what I think would be the right direction on how to figure that out. All right. Strange, but things like this do happen, folks. All right. A senior couple thinks that they have a good idea. Here's what it is. We own a house in Minnesota and a house here in Iowa City where we live. If we sell this house in Iowa City, we will pay no federal tax. Is that right? I said, that is correct. The Tax Reform Act changed that. You used to have to buy a house of equal value or more, and you had, I think, 24 months or 18 months to go do that. So if you sold a house in town for $150,000, you had to go buy a house worth $150,000 within, I don't remember now, but I'm going to say 24 months. You had to go buy a house for $155,000 or $170,000, anything more than $150,000. That way, you're a sport of the economy. You're stepping up. You went up the ladder. That's what they wanted. Now, if you sold that house for $150,000 and you paid $75,000 for it, and you didn't buy a house, then you paid taxes on $75,000. Pretty easy stuff. Well, in today's world, here's what happened. If we own a house here in town, if we sell this house and pay no tax, get this: can we move to our Minnesota house and live there, and then sell it and pay no tax? I said, yes, you can. All right. They start clapping. I said, however, get this: the feds are not stupid when it comes to that. So they put a little, I would call it a governor, a little damper on this thing, all right, like a governor on a motor. If you do that, you could sell here in Iowa City. Let's say you paid $200,000 and you sell it for $300,000. So you have it paid down to $150,000. So you get $50,000 back that you were paid from what you, and plus another $100,000. You'd have $150,000 cash in your hand with no tax. Woohoo! Now you go to Minnesota and you get up there, and you can take the $150,000, do whatever you want to. Go buy a car with it, go buy it on vacation, put it in the bank, anything you want, no tax, guaranteed. If you live there 2 out of the last 5 years, herein comes the curveball. Rex, I knew there was something wrong. You always think of some stupid stuff. Well, this is the rule. Yeah, go to Minnesota. You're going to have to live there in the next 5 years. You have to live there 2 years. So, if you will, the easy way is to go up to Minnesota. Who'd want to go up there in the middle of winter and live? But that's your business. I don't care what you do. You have to live there 2 years. Then you can sell it because you would have qualified for living there 2 out of the last 5. You live there 2. You can sell it no tax. Wow, neat deal. However, when you go up there, here's what you're going to have to do. You don't just move in. You move in, and now, since you sold the house in Iowa City, you're going to have to go up to Minnesota up there, and you're going to have to declare that your home for your homestead. And not only that, the feds, if they come snooping, you're going to want to have the water meter in your name, the mail come to your house, your gas meter in your name, all things like that. So you can prove, if they ask you, you can prove that is your domicile. That is where you live. Your street address, your magazines delivered there, all that kind of stuff, because it's a litmus test, because they will come knocking on the door, and you can fight them off and save yourself taxes if you play by the rules. Here's a good call. I get more than one of these a year for sure. What can we do with our piano? I said, well, I can't answer that out loud. Our kids learned on it. We rarely play it. They moved away, grew up, moved away. And now we never use it, and it just takes up space. If I say the two words out loud, and I mean it the way it sounds, good luck. I don't know what you're doing. They're a classic boat anchor. They're beautiful, and they're wonderful. You need to find a family that has a young kid or somebody who wants to learn to play the piano, or they always wanted a piano anywhere in the house. This is it. Get on the internet, tell your friends, put a picture of it at Hy-Vee, put it on a bulletin board. If somebody offers you $50, well, we paid $3,700 for it. Follow this line of logic. Nobody wants it. In the old days, you could call West Music. They'd come and buy it, pay you a little of something for it, and then they'd sell it. That's their business, okay? That's business. That's capitalism. Good for them. They don't want them. You can call them if you want. Maybe they change their mind, but I know they haven't. So good luck with it. I've seen them on the curb. When you put things to the curb, they become free. I've seen people put them out to the curb with a big sign that says free, and people take the bench, but they don't take the piano. So that's what goes on with your piano. So good luck to you. I hope it works for you. Here's another one. We are looking at a house that is real close to the Crandig tracks. You know, the tracks that go from Cedar Rapids to Iowa City. Well, how often does it go by? Well, here's the deal, folks. In the flood of 2020 was a game changer. They closed the Crandig tracks from the Iowa River Power Building. So what was the Iowa River Power restaurant? They closed it from there to Rocky Shore Drive. That train trail's underneath Rocky, where you get onto Rocky Shore Drive from the Corville Strip. Because on the back side of that, back behind what was old Chicago and places like that, the hotel down there, the Heartland Inn and all those places, the flood washed out the bank back there and washed out some of the trackage areas, made it unsafe. So they had to close it. And so while they were doing that, Corville got a big flood check from the federal government, and all kinds of they could remedy the situation. So they did. So they started at the dam. They did a lot of work there, and then they went down along in there, and they put in a walking trail. I've walked it many times. On the other side of the tracks, back behind Jethro's, we'll call it, Jethro's back there, there's a real neat walking trail. And you can get to it over there at the Crandig Park on Rocky Shore, and you walk back behind there, you can walk over to the Corville Dam. It's a nice little walk. It's very nice. Many, many times I've done that. So that's what happened. Now, the other thing about that was, remember, the question is, how often does it go by? Here's the answer to it. When they closed that track, the engineers decided, the land surveyors and civil engineers, not the train engineers, that they had to raise the track, I believe, 8 feet from that to Rocky Shore. And trains don't go uphill, so it had to be a long, long, slow raise. And so they did. So they had to put all new gravel, all new trackage, all new gravel, all new rock, everything, all new back there. So no train has gone by since then. Now the track is open, they can use it, but they can't get the Crandig train from Cedar Rapids down here, because if you drive up 965 and go north of the reservoir, what do you see? You see hundreds and hundreds of rail cars, storage hopper cars being stored along the tracks there. So they can't get there because their line is plugged up with train cars. They can't get down here from Cedar Rapids. So what are they going to do? Well, what they did was they went out and they can go down through Amana and come in that way, which they have done. I have seen a train there once in a while, but there's no set schedule. You can call it Crandig. They're owned by Alliance Energy in Cedar Rapids. They don't have a set schedule to go through. So the answer to the question is, you may never see it once in a blue moon. How's that? That's my best answer, once in a blue moon. So if you live next to the Crandig, now the Crandig line has been there active since 1903. So don't call them and tell them to quit honking the horn, because they've been there since 1903, and they'll tell you to do something that's impossible to do. So just be careful. There's nothing wrong with it. I grew up in Corville Long. It's always part of growing up there. When it goes past, it goes past. You remember that used to be the interurban, was ferried people, took people for a trolley ride from downtown Iowa City to Corville to Cedar Rapids through North Liberty, Swisher, and big studies that they could redo it, but they haven't done that yet. All right. Rex, you mentioned a couple weeks ago big things are coming to Coralville Strip area. Any news? Yes, there's more news. I have more, folks. The Texas group is starting, and if you went out to the Coralville Strip this afternoon and you go to where Taco John's was, not where they are now, but where that was, and Tabula restaurant, this would be across from the building, across from Copyworks on the Strip, and places like that. There's a big, giant cyclone fence up there starting to tear buildings down. I see the electric company taking down telephone poles and gas lines. Huge project coming to Coralville right there. It's going to take lots and lots of buildings. A lot of buildings are going to come down. And there will be I haven't seen the final plan lately, but a hotel in there, going to be businesses in there, like shopping businesses and storefronts, type of thing. Offices, building, apartments, condos, of course. And away we go. So that's coming down, and they've been at that, folks, for 5 years in the planning. So it's a big deal. That is in a 100-year floodplain, so they got a real challenge down there. So it's a major deal. I'm going to say to you, it's going to be a 5 to 10 year plan right there. But they're getting started. Got to start somewhere. All right, that's it. One of my friends says his wife is really on his case to get a hearing test. He says, I guess she's tired of me saying, "What did you say?" every time she says something. I have a hard time hearing. I know. I don't want to do it. Well, folks, there you go. He knows he's got a hard time hearing, and he doesn't want to go do that. Now, I should tell you that one of my properties, I have a hearing clinic, Eastern Iowa Hearing Clinic in Coralville. And great people out there, and their doors are going like mad because seniors need, not only seniors, but kids and anyone in between, but a lot more, predominantly seniors. Business is good. And because people need it. So don't delay. Hearing is one of our 5 senses, and you don't want to miss out on a lot of things because you don't want to go there. Well, let's get into what my problem has been for many years until I just realized it. I solved a couple more when I read this article by my friend and knew him pretty well, Irving Weber. I've been infatuated for many years with the Paul Helen building downtown. Now, for the Paul Helen building, which is, if you know where Hertine and Stockers are, that great jewelry store downtown Iowa City, Hertine and Stocker. Hi, guys. Willa and gang and kids down there. Right across the street to the east is Black Hawk Mini Park. Well, right east of that is the Paul Helen building. And it was built in 1911. Now, in 1911, downtown Iowa City was a big deal because the Hotel Jefferson was built in 1912, and there were 2 or 3 other big buildings that were built along in there, the Iowa State Bank building, or Midwest One Bank, a lot of going on in downtown Iowa City. It was a happening deal in 1910 to 1913, 14, 15, and this building was one of them. It cost $75,000 to build. Now, in other words, if you're standing at the front door of the Anglet Theater, just to the right of you is the Paul Helen building, 3 stories tall, a great big long building. It cost $75,000 to build in 1911. It has 5 storefronts, and the original owners, here's the key to what I'm thinking about. We'll come back to it. The original owners were G.W. Schmidt, Charles Schmidt, and William Kurz, the brother-in-law of those guys. So there was an old 2-story building that they got rid of, and the idea for the building is thought to have originated with George S. Carson, real famous name in Iowa City, who was looking for a space for his growing company, Iowa City Light and Power. So he had the rights, the franchise rights for the Light and Power Company in Iowa City at this time, apparently, obviously. And he needed a place for his offices because this town was booming and he wanted a place. Well, George S. Carson owned other businesses in Iowa City, and he also donated the land for what is now the Coralville Cemetery. And I'm starting to put 2 and 2 together the more I read. All right. So when the building was completed and occupied, the first floor tenants were Smith and Seelig, which was later on to become Lennox and Seelig. So when I was a kid, that's a true story, Lennox and Seelig had been there for sure. But when I was a kid, it was Iowa, Illinois Gas and Electric, which would have been the company to whom George S. Carson sold the Iowa City Light and Power to. They would have come in here and bought him out and for X dollars. I don't care about that, but he sold out to them. And after Prohibition, the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and this building was one of, it cost $75,000 to build in 1911. It has 5 storefronts, and which started in legally about 1915 and is over 1923, 24. After the repeal of Prohibition, the Iowa liquor store moved in. So it must have been a hot place, so they couldn't buy any booze at all. And as soon as they leave, the Iowa liquor store opened up there. And for a number of years, then John Wilson Sporting Goods was down there, and Fro-Wine Office Supply. You bet. Now you know where you are. The second floor has been used by offices by a number of physicians, and remember, this is since 1911. Doctors, George Callahan, the famous, not famous, but the well-known Dr. Callahan, Dr. Maxwell, the dentist was in there. Attorneys have been in there. Will Hayek, the Hayek gang. Ed Lucas, oh boy, what a guy he was, a great guy. Newman Toomey, Jack White, Will Hayek in the building as lawyers. The National Guard was in there for 50 years. 50 years then. Other businesses have been Roland Smith Realtors. They were there when I started selling real estate. They were in the second floor there. The Board of Trade, the multiple listing service of the Board of Realtors, William Novish and Associates, the architects, and Isabel's Beauty Shop. Now, I was never there, but the Isabel's Beauty Shop, a lot of these places were on the second and third floor. And there were several three-story buildings at that time, but not too many of them that anybody had any really access to, like the way these did. Up at the Iowa State Bank building, which was built along in there and not as tall as it is now, they put in an elevator. And when I was a kid, if you went there, the elevator, they had a lady who worked there, and she opened the door, the elevator door would open, and they had like a gate type of thing, like a child's gate, going down the steps. What floor? 2, please. She pushed the button, you go to 2. Well, to me, that would be the first person to lay off in tight times, because you could run your own road to get up to push 2, push 3, whatever. So that's what this was, and it was a guardian. It was a beacon downtown. I remember going downtown to that building when I was a kid. My mom and dad, or my dad, usually on Saturdays, he would go around town to pay the bills at certain times and take me with him when I was a little guy, and that's where we went to the gas and electric company and paid our gas and electric bill. And so it's a well-known place. It had Lennox and Cedic was in there, of course, and it would have been a real mecca down there for people with the hardware store, because they're now Ace Hardware. They're out by Southeast Junior High. And Lennox and Cedic, they still have a business up on the north end of Iowa City, site of the old Aldous greenhouse, and they had one in Corville, and they had one in Marion. Has a nice store. The Meese family, they run a great business there. And that's where they originated. Downtown Iowa City was right there. So, Rex, what mystery did you solve? Well, here's the mystery I solved. Remember, I told you the owners were G.W. Schmidt, Charles W. Schmidt, brother, and William Kurz, the brother-in-law. The building was named for the children of the owners. Each of them, G.W. Schmidt and Mr. Kurz, had a son named Paul. And Charlie Schmidt had a daughter named Helen. So they named the building the Paul Helen Building. Now, that sounds weak, in my opinion. I thought it was two attorneys or 2 doctors or Dr. Paul, Dr. Shorty Paul or somebody like that. No, it was the original owners in 1911. 2 of them had a son named Paul, and the other one had a daughter named Helen. It's the Paul Helen Building. Ladies and gentlemen, I have solved a lifelong mystery by reading this article. I know you're right with me, that you're relieved as well, and I think that's something you could go to a tavern with and win a bet. That's a free beer bet right there, along with the capitals of every state in the union, which I can rip off at any time. So that's what you can do. The other thing about that building on the 3rd floor was a public dance hall called the Varsity. And if you ever read any of Niall Kinnick's books about the Iron Man or anything like that, all of the Iron Men, including Niall Kinnick and all of the Al Coupe and all those famous guys, they went to the Varsity all the time for dances. And Niall Kinnick was really shy, and every girl there wanted to dance with Niall Kinnick. And he had a couple favorites. He had one real favorite girl, but he was pretty shy. But anyhow, that's where they went. They went to the Varsity. Aha! Now you know even more. And the dances usually was $1 per couple. And they did have some charges to get in. Aha! So I know you dying to know those things. You'll find it right here in Senior Talk for sure. All right. Well, the best way I have found, and you think about that, I want you to think about this. the best way to find out if you are old is to somehow, not hard to do, trip and fall in front of a lot of people. All right, so there's a group of people there, and you trip and fall. If they laugh, you're still young. But if they all start running towards you to help you up, they think you're old. So give it a whirl and see where you fit. Go trip and, unfortunately, trip and fall down. If everybody stands around, well, you dummy, you dumb head, you trip and fell, what's wrong with you? And blah, 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 ha, ha. You bounce right up. But if they think, oh, my God, Rex fell down, he's an older guy. If they help you up, you're old. So that's the litmus test for today. I don't want you to trip and fall down. We can do that easily enough. I'm saving that for winter when you can trip and fall on the ice. By the way, nobody wants that to happen, for God's sakes. No, no, no. So today's the last day of the fair. If you can stand it, go on down to the fair. They got a lot of animals down there. I bet they got the hoses going on all the cattle and all the hogs and all the people. Who knows? But great time to do that. So, you know, one thing about being a senior, about being anybody, none of us ever know how about our tenure here on the planet Earth. No guarantees were ever granted to any of us. So knowing that as seniors, we're all headed down that backstretch, I advise the following mindset. Do all you can, whatever it is, while you can. Have everything you want to do it now while you can. I just got word last night that a friend of mine and his wife are going to go around the world on an airplane flight and stay here and stay there and stay there. And I have no ambition to do that. He does. They want to do it, so more power to him. So take my suggestion. I never give advice, but do all you can, whatever it is, while you can. So on this hot day, which I like, hang in there. Not too long until Hawkeye football. And give me a call on my senior line if you want to talk real estate or anything else. Please give me a call. I'm at 319-330-5534. So, again, thank all you veterans and all the American Legions out there. Everybody works with that, the veterans of foreign wars. Thank you so much for everybody who has served and is serving. My salute to you. So thanks for listening to Senior Talk. This is Rex Brandstatter saying we'll see you next time. So long.
Hi, this is Tiffany at Senior Benefits. Are you confused with Medicare questions, anything having to do with Medicare? I take care of all Medicare customers, people under